Okay, here's an example of a win from last Friday as well. All right, so the context is now we're at the end of the day on SPY, and we see all this bearishness, but once we get to the bottom here around this trend line, we're starting to see this pullback just take its damn time. And the context here is that it's Friday. A whole bunch of tech has been shorted, and Harry, rightly so, pointed out in the chat that there's a crap load of earnings coming up. There's FOMC. People don't want to be short tech over the weekend. And in fact, they probably don't want to be short tech for too long, especially if, these earnings are favorable and the FOMC has some good news. So as we start to see this potential of a short cover start to come into play, some of the traders decided that taking a long would have been a good idea. And I decided to go along with them too, because a lot of them are a lot smarter than me. So I wanted to pick a really good tech long that would take advantage of the potential of a short cover. Because we broke this downward trend line, we started to see some upward motion, we started to see some potential of things covering. Now, we're not looking to go long forever, but we want to capitalize on an end of day trade, a little bit of a long, and cap off the week with a nice little win. So we're looking for a tech stock that has great relative strength. And my pick was NLOK. And the reason why I liked NLOK so much was because it had crazy relative strength. Tech was still strong kind of overall. And this giant uptrend line is an HA continuation, so it's very trendy. But also, this thing broke an SMA today on that Friday. And it was still above that SMA somehow magically right about here during that time. And that was almost a miracle when you think about it, because how does this thing stay above an SMA when tech got annihilated so much? So that's why I picked that D1 chart. It's also got a lot of good volume, like 5 million volume a day, stuff like that. And it's a nice stock. So that's why I picked that. But here's where I wanted to enter. I knew that I had to make sure that this thing was coming back up and not just flatlining out. So it was showing a ton of strength through the day. You can see this average relative strength up above SPY the whole time. It actually couldn't really stick below that SMA line. So I needed it above VWAP, but I also needed to make sure that it was actually reversing on the trend intraday. And I saw these two candles right through here with the topping wicks. So I wanted it to break this line. That's the line I was looking for to break. Also, I wanted to make sure there wasn't any algo lines or any sort of like algo-ish type lines at all. And the best I could find was just this high volume candle going to this candle. Now, I'm not sure if that's an actual line or not, but if I trace it on there, it kind of looks like it was being respected, because there's a bounce off there, a punch through, and then you see these little tick, 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 these topping candles that coincide exactly with that line. So I thought, okay, needs to break that line. So what I'm looking for now on NLOK is a break above that line, and I got it. So I entered on that break, which had high volume, which is fantastic, and that's this candle right through here. And if you look, it coincides perfectly with that pop back above the trend line, the short covered break, okay? Now remember, I'm looking at it over here the whole time, and I'm kind of stalking it as well, and that's this candle right through here. And as you can see, the difference between these two is this thing's going up a lot more convictiously than SPY is. And also when SPY was going down, NLOK was going up as well, right? So that's the price action relative strength as well. So I entered on this candle, and my goal was just to hold this damn thing as long as I could. So I held and held and held, and even though it really kind of wasn't moving up, it was moving up better than SPY was moving up. Now remember, we were expecting a short cover and for this thing to continue all the way up, maybe even to VWAP. But as I saw the short cover unfolding, it was getting more and more sketchy. So instead of taking my profit target all the way up and riding it all the way to market close, I figured that NLOK, even though it was showing some great relative strength, it was still holding above here. It probably wouldn't have been able to break above this candle right through here, or that 25.44 line. Actually, probably the 25.43 line, right? One penny before, so you get the bid ask. So that's where I moved my profit target to, right through there. I actually left 1 penny sooner, but the reason why I moved my profit target down on this one was because this short cover was kind of lackluster and not really going anywhere. So the potential for this thing to just peter out and come back down was increased based on what I was seeing. And that's why I left the chart. Now, I probably could have just stayed in it, but hindsight's 20/20, right? So this is an example of a winning trade and why I took it. And hopefully that helps you kind of understand what's going through your brain and what's happening to make these types of trades.